Hello, everybody. This is Shar Dickerson. I'm the Director of Active Learning, and welcome to my session on blended hybrid learning through the lens of differentiation in Schoology. So let's begin. So here on this tab, you can see the location of the course in our Schoology session. And of course, the Schoology course is called March Bonanza. So I'm very excited to share with you as to what we have in store with regard to this session. So let me just give you an overview on what you're seeing right now on my tab. So down here, as I scroll down slowly, you can see here the session description. So we all know that blended learning environments have become a common household name as students and teachers all over the world are learning and teaching from the comforts of their homes. And of course, we know that here in El Paso, Texas, we are back in the building. However, not all of our students are back in the building. Some are still at home and learning via remote. So there are many students who have individual needs that have either been missed or not fully supported due to the limited or absence of proper understanding as to how to function effectively and meaningfully in a full remote or blended learning environment. So the posing or the purpose of this topic is to include how to provide relevant differentiation and scaffolding to students with special needs, also including our English learners, and also some interventions, some what we call Tier 1 interventions that you can use with all of your students, and how to provide systems of support such as timely communication and proper collaboration seamlessly embedded with real-life experiences. So that's a mouthful, isn't it? So anyway, let's go ahead and get started by listening and watching one of these videos. Of course, later, as you go through this course in your own pace or in your own time, you can pick and choose whatever video you would like to watch here. But for our purpose of instruction, I'm going to play the first video here, which is entitled A Student-Centered Model of Blended Learning. So hopefully you can hear the sound.
Good. Nice job, Mr. 6.10.
So one of the toughest challenges students face when they walk into classrooms is they feel tense. They're worried about being put on the spot, especially if they're behind or don't understand the skill. When they come into our classrooms, they know they're picking up where they left off. We're seeing students' anxiety levels drop and their commitment and desire to master content increase.
So I want to shout out Nathaniel and Will. They came on their own time. They got some videos going and they are ahead of pace.
Eastern High School is located in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Washington, D.C. Being 100% free and reduced lunch, our students come to us with varied levels of academic performance.
When I came to Eastern, I was sort of shocked with how broad the variety of learning levels was. We have students who have experienced a ton of trauma, who are behind on certain skill sets, are ahead in certain skill sets, have different subsets of experience when they go home. I quickly found out that my traditional model of teaching was not actually effective. So at that time, I realized I needed to make a shift, and I wanted to start by getting rid of the lecture at the beginning of my class. I'm going to get started today with a revision. So Santana and Jamie, just see me in the back real quick. The instructional model that I started implementing, there are three components: blended learning, self-paced structure, and mastery-based grading. What you would see today is really a controlled chaos environment. You have some students starting a new lesson, watching an instructional video, taking their guided notes. You have other kids working on actual lesson assignments, collaborating on whiteboards, really problem solving. And then you'll see other students working on exit tickets to achieve mastery.
I like Mr. Bird's class because it teaches you independence. For every lesson, we start off with a video, and then during the video, we have to take notes. Mr. Farrer, he does the videos himself. You'll hear his voice every time you watch a video.
In today's lesson, we're going to focus on finding our local maxes and mins.
I love it, actually. You get to pause it, stop, and then go back and be able to rewatch the lesson over again until I fully understand and grasp the strategies and formulas.
Once they're done watching that instructional video, they transition to some type of assignment or activity.
That's it for A, right? And then we already found the number of there. And now say find the rate of change in the weight of the oil.
Everyone learns different. So you may be on lesson 5, someone may be on 3. It all depends on how you work. It's better than in a regular class where everybody has to stay on the same thing. The students help each other. So if you ahead, you might can help someone that's behind.
Oh, okay, so after you get 9 over 4, you gotta divide the whole thing by 4. Okay. Alright.
After that, there's an exit ticket.
So an exit ticket is like a mini quiz. It's just a couple questions at the end of the lesson that really succinctly measure the student's ability to execute the activities they learned. So when a student has mastered an exit ticket, they move forward. When they don't, they have a reteach. You're assuming that your Y is 0. And then they try a new exit ticket until they've achieved mastery.
Showtime. Did you get your exit ticket right? Well, your derivative is spot on.
So because I am not delivering a lecture, I'm now free to work with students for the entirety of the class period.
X equals 4.
Yes. Woo.
Real quick, just remind me, what do you have to argue? Who is more responsible for perpetuating the Cold War? I'm going to meet with a few people on topic sentences first.
The video instruction makes me feel like I've been able to clone myself. Instead of needing to explain a concept and then re-explain the concept and then say it again, I'm giving the instruction on the video, which frees me up to work one-on-one or in small groups.
Does your topic sentence directly answer the essay question? No, it doesn't.
I like it a lot. I never feel like I'm being rushed or feel like, oh, I already know this. Like, why am I going over this again? I always feel like I'm being challenged.
I have a really accurate pulse check of where my students are. So-and-so is on 6.9 and they're about halfway through because I haven't seen an exit ticket yet. Whereas another student has advanced to 6.10 and I can even lean on that student to explain something to their peers.
Okay, so
You're only going to use 2 code explication charts. Your 2 strongest ones.
I think it helps with your time management. A couple of days ago, I had to stay after school to get my work done because I was slacking a little bit. Like when you miss a class, you can watch the video at home to catch up.
Part of the reason this format works so well is we have a lower than average in-seat attendance rate. In a traditional format, once the teacher delivers that lesson, they're moving on to the next lesson the next day, and they don't get an opportunity to go back over it.
I've had students who, sadly, in a traditional classroom, they simply would have failed the quarter due to their number of absences for legitimate reasons and often sometimes really heartbreaking reasons. With this way of teaching, that student can come really with more of a fighting chance and ultimately pass a quarter.
In our model, if a student is experiencing distress and needs emotional support, it doesn't disrupt the larger classroom environment. I'm able to pivot and work with that student, discuss what's going on, while the other students are able to access the content and flourish.
You have to do 10, then put parentheses in the calculator too.
I did.
It's supposed to be a positive, girl.
Wow, wow, wow. There's a lot of good stuff that was shared in that video. So take a moment, and again, you can always replay this video anytime and go back and jot down more notes. But I hope you have either paper and pen right beside you or your favorite notepad or notebook or journal, and you're jotting down a lot of notes in there because I have a few questions that I would like to ask, which you're going to post here in the discussion forum. And of course, the discussion forum is not available yet, but I'm going to add that definitely right here. You can see that beautiful plus sign right there. So let me go ahead and add that right now. And I'm going to add a discussion just because I'm so inspired with, with this video. And this is just one out of the 3 videos that you have available to look into. So I'm just going to put here reflection. Okay. And as you can see, I'm also demonstrating some of the key features here in Schoology that can hopefully help you have students be engaged, and you can also, have them be part of the lesson, even though you're doing it virtual or hybrid or blended. So I'm going to put here, participate in a discussion. And pretty much my question would be, have you embraced the power of blended learning in your everyday face-to-face and or hybrid instruction? Similar to the different examples shown in this video. If yes, what are some of your examples of implementation? If not, why? And how are you going to turn around some of the features you have seen in this video in your own classroom? Okay. Oops, a little bit of a typo in there. And of course, because I love aesthetics, that's very important. Every time you deliver any virtual or online instruction, you always need to make sure that your aesthetics are also very appropriate and clear and big enough for everybody to read. So I'm just doing some formatting here. And then, of course, it just depends on if you want to enable grading or not. But I'm just going to have that a bit not graded because this is for adult learners. So I'm going to trust that you all are going to participate and plug in your responses because I'm going to take a look at that and read it. And also, one nice feature about this discussion feature in Schoology is that you have the choice to either have members see other responses before participating, or you don't have them see the responses. They have to respond first before they actually see other responses from other participants. So I'm going to leave it as is, and I'm going to click Create. And you also have the option there, by the way, if you've noticed earlier, to have a deadline, if you're going to set a deadline. So right here, now we have a discussion place, a discussion forum. So based on my questions, you're going to click on that discussion forum, and there you go. So again, you're going to participate in the discussion, plug in your response based on the questions that I have read out earlier. And again, these questions are based from our session, Blended Hybrid Learning Through the Lens of Differentiation in Schoology, and it is about this video, a student-centered model of blended learning. Okay, so we're going to move forward, and like what I said, this is a recorded session, so you can always come back, pause, repeat, and then or play forward, or rewind, or whatever you want to call it. It is available for your own use. So we're going to move forward like what I said, and we're going to try our first activity. So there are 6 activities in the session, and the first one, of course, would be how and why to implement blended learning. So this particular video that I've shown you earlier is more of like a teaser, kind of give you an overview of a student-centered model of blended learning, but now we're going to try to dig deeper, and we're going to start with activity number 1, how and why to implement blended learning. So let's go ahead and travel with me, and we're going to click on that folder. And the power of video is in there. So this is something, again, you can watch, you can pause, and you can, keep on coming back. So this particular video introduces blended learning. And then this is a video made by Kathleen Tucker. And she is one of the gurus when it comes to blended learning. So in this video, she shares why her class and her campus transitioned to a blended model and the impact it has had in the classroom. It also provides an overview of the 3 models employed in her classroom. So earlier in that other video that we've watched together, you have there also 3 models, right? And this one in her video that we're going to watch here in a few minutes, she's going to feature 3 models that she implements consistently in her blended learning classroom. There's station rotation, flipped classroom, and whole group rotation. Sounds familiar? I hope so, because these terms are similar to the different types of concurrent instruction that we actually implement in our district here in El Paso ISD. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. We're going to watch it together. And so I'm going to hit play, sit back, relax, jot down some notes and important words that you find interesting. Here we go.
The math stuff too, because like I tend to do like a lot of run-on sentences, like all of this.
I like the first one.
Why?
Because it's like very detailed and like they talk about how it's unusually hard.
Or like how they're toned by the exclamation points and all that.
So blended learning is a formal education program that combines active engaged learning online with active engaged learning in the classroom. And the benefit is that students have some control over the time and the place and also the pace of their learning. I'm really excited about trying to get students to engage, which is challenging if all you're doing in the classroom is really lecturing at kids or talking at them. So the more we can use online elements to enhance that face-to-face instruction, I feel like the more engaged and excited they're going to be as learners.
I think it is definitely more interactive, and it keeps it fun instead of boring because you are interacting with your peers instead of just watching a teacher lecture you, and there are so many different activities and the class is moving so fast that there isn't a moment to get bored.
You're always trying to catch up with what she's doing, so instead of like getting off task, what we do is like we're trying to get everything done, like so there's no room to get off task since you're trying to get everything done so quickly.
For teachers in traditional classrooms, probably the three approaches that work best are station rotation model, the whole group rotation, and flipped classroom. So station rotation is a model where primarily the learning is happening in the classroom, and a teacher will break up students into smaller learning communities or learning groups and create a series of stations in the classroom. And so that gives me a chance to work with that group at the skill level that they're at, provide one-on-one support as they practice. It also allows me to create differentiated stations. So as they move through stations, I can adapt the task at a particular station so that's really meeting the needs of that particular group coming through. So one station might be a blast, one station might be a first read, depending on how many devices I have. And then one station, maybe they're using the print companion with StudySync. All right, start organizing materials at your station for the next group, please. The flipped classroom is probably the blended learning model most people have heard of, at least traditional teachers. And the idea is that you take the transfer of knowledge, which has, or information, the transfer of information, and you shift it online.
I like having classes with not a lot of lecture time because there's less transition time wasting, and when she has the other things online, really her lessons that we learn at home, we can kind of go into depth with it more if we need to, or we can move at our own pace rather than sitting there. I feel like if it's going too slow for me, I tend to zone out and not pay attention as well. Whereas if it's not all lecture time, I feel like I'm paying attention more to it.
The beauty of the flip model isn't the videos or however you're transferring information online. The real magic happens in the classroom when kids are applying and they're having conversations and they're collaborating and they're problem solving together. So I love it because it creates more time for me to get them kind of putting their hands on learning or really thinking about what we're doing and trying to apply it together. I really want to shift them from these passive observers or these passive recipients of information and really push them into a much more active role as generators of information and, really play with the information in the classroom. I flip my vocabulary instruction, my writing instruction, and my grammar instruction. So anytime I'm tempted to stand up and talk at my students, I will make a video. Or I make them research it and then they have to present to each other. I literally never stand in front of my class and talk at them. Whole group rotation just means that as an entire class, you're moving between online and offline activities. Venn diagram, on one side, argumentative writing thesis statements for literature and thesis statements for argumentative that's research, and what is similar about them and what is different about those thesis statements. 3 minutes, quick comparison, go. For a traditional teacher just making their kind of first steps into blended learning, sometimes the whole group rotation is a little less daunting because you're moving through a lesson together. So it mirrors kind of a traditional lesson that might not have technology, and then a teacher can just add the technology into the lesson, but everybody's on the same page, working on the same thing, so they can put out fires, answer questions. So it's an easier transition for some teachers than maybe getting into station rotation where you're designing multiple learning experiences.
So that was another amazing video. And of course, my mind is blown away. Even though I've seen this video many, many times, it's always awesome to go back and listen to it again and be able to think and create more ideas and also refine my thinking. I think that's the power of it, refining one's thinking, even though we have been educators for so many years. I've been an educator for, this is going to be my 24th year. So even though with that vast experience, I still learn and tweak and refine the things that I know in order to, perfect my craft. And it's going to be an endless or lifelong style of learning. We're always going to be constantly changing. So let's go back to the video. So in this video, there's a lot of keywords, a lot of big words, and a lot of words also and ideas that we're familiar with. I mean, we know station rotation. It's not something new. But I think the challenge now is that we know we have kids who are in the building face-to-face. Not all of our kids are face-to-face. And we have still a vast majority who are staying at home and learning from their homes. So that's still full remote learning. So how will you be able to implement station rotation in that type of learning environment, right? Also, think about the flipped classroom. How can you do a flipped classroom? Where will it come in? How can you apply it as a teacher, knowing you have two types of participants, one in front of you in the classroom, and then another group who are staying at home. And then you also have the whole group rotation. So what tools do I have in my bag, in my teacher toolkit, that when I do whole group rotation, I'm able to reach not only the kids who I'm talking to in front of the class, and also not to forget the kids who are in the Zoom or connected through Microsoft Teams and watching me as I'm teaching. So let's help break that down, okay? So in station rotation, ideally, if we were all in the classroom and there's no COVID, there's no pandemic, it's easy to create a station rotation. You have kids in different groups, and you have different tasks for each station. And if the space in the classroom allows, you can have the kids physically stand up and move around, right? Or if you don't have enough space, you can easily task them. You give we have folders, expanding folders or binders, or even everything is online in Schoology, and you can just release that and direct them to where to go so they can do the different station rotations. But since now we have COVID and we continue to be in this life of living in a pandemic, you can still do station rotation, but obviously everything will be online, right? You still have the option, if you choose to have some more physical station rotations for your kids who are in the classroom. But of course, you know the constraints and limitations of that, right? And just to always stay safe and stay healthy. So if you are going to put all your station rotations online in Schoology, for example, you can build those different station rotations, and that will involve planning ahead of time. You cannot just create a station rotation right on the fly unless, you're very comfortable doing that. But then, that can cause a lot of stress, right, as a teacher. So plan ahead, build these pieces, and since our learning management is Schoology, you can embed all these different types of activities as your station rotation that's connected to your content. And you can incorporate the use of Padlet, the use of Wakelet, the use of Flipgrid, the use of your Office tools, the use of your Apple tools. So not just having the kids listen, right, to videos. Videos are great, but it has to be purposeful. But you're also expecting the kids to produce something to demonstrate their mastery of learning through the station rotations. Okay? All right, so let's go to flipped classroom. So flipped classroom, I like that simply because it allows you to, again, it will involve planning ahead. And either like this, you can pre-record yourself like what I'm doing right now in our session. And then you can release these videos ahead of time and the kids can start watching them, okay? And then when they go back to the building, when the time comes that all of our kids come back to the building, they can still go back to these videos and watch them, and you can still utilize it as part of your instruction. But even though we still have majority of our kids in a remote setting, They can still watch your pre-made videos, and you're teaching a concept. It could be a mini lesson of one of your content or of your content area, and you can record by topic, depending on how much content you want to record yourself on, and then share that with the kids. My recommendation is not more than 5 minutes or not more than 10 minutes. So if you can chunk it, the better it will be, especially for kids who struggle in understanding the concept. Okay, so that's a piece of differentiation right then and there as well. So flipped classroom, that's pretty much what it is. You pre-record yourself, chunk the information, not more than 10 minutes of a recorded lesson, release it to the kids early or ahead of time, of course, and that means on the part of the teacher, you will have to plan ahead, look at your calendar, what topics you're going to record, and plan in terms of organization, effectiveness, and efficiency, and also being very meaningful in your recording. And then you can build in a check for understanding, whether it's an exit ticket, a discussion, a Socratic seminar, or it could be a reflection, whether in a project, paper format, or whatever. Okay? So that's pretty much the idea behind flipped classroom. Now let's go to whole group instruction. So with station rotation, right, you have the option to use the OWL if you have quite a few kids and you want the kids in the classroom to be seen and to be connected with the kids at home who are in your video conference. So you can use the OWL that way. With a flipped classroom, you don't necessarily need to use the OWL, but you can if you want to. In the whole group rotation, I think anyway, this is where you will need to have your OWL, because you're teaching both groups at the same time, those who are in the classroom with you and those kids who are at their homes. Okay, so if you're teaching something, you're in front of the class, you are asking questions, you're teaching a content, and that's a whole group instruction, and then you're going to have them do activities online after you conduct the whole group instruction, then you will need to use the OWL, or that would be one of the best tools you can bring out of your teacher toolkit, and have your kids at home and have your kids in the classroom connect that way so they can see what's going actually in the classroom. So the whole group rotation, just like what Kathleen Tucker said, it's one of the easiest ways for our traditional ways of teaching to transition in or enter into the realm of blended learning, and especially for those who are new to blended learning and not quite sure where to start, then your whole group rotation or concurrent instruction, you're teaching at the same time, both groups at the same time, would be a good first step. And then you go deeper and you provide more variety. You have your flipped classroom as another strategy and station rotation as another strategy. So now it's your turn. I've talked too much. So let's go take a look at the discussion here. So you are to participate in a discussion. So I hope you jot down a lot of notes. And pretty much in this discussion, you are going to post a reflection by sharing your takeaways, ahas or new learnings, questions or wonderings, and possible experiences in connection with the content of the video. So again, post right away, write your comment in there, and I'm going to go ahead and read your postings as soon as, of course, I see them and as soon as you submit them. Okay? All right. So that's pretty much activity number 1. That's what it's all about, right? So as I scroll back down now, I'm back here on the main page of my session. So what were you going to do for the rest of the session? I modeled a whole group instruction. I also modeled by doing the activity 1 together and allowing you to respond using the discussion format in Schoology as well as the discussion format here in activity number 1. So what you're going to do next for the rest of the hour, for the rest of the time that you have for the session, would be to pick and choose another activity that you're going to do on your own. So you can go to activity number 2, and activity number 2 focuses on the how and why to integrate station rotation into your classroom by Kathleen Tucker. And it's going to allow you to dive deeper. But the reflection here will be a little bit different. You're going to get to experience to record yourself using Flipgrid. So let me click that so you can have a visual. So as you can see here, This is where you can record a response, and I would even recommend popping it out so you can see the square with an arrow pointing outward. And I recommend that you click that, because I believe if you there are some technical difficulties in terms of recording a response within this embedded feature here in Schoology. So I suggest you click that square with the arrow pointing up where my cursor is at, and it should open into a new window. And right here, and once it opens to a new window, then you'll be able to record a response, okay? To record a response, you simply click the button record a response, and you start creating that video in Flipgrid, okay? So that's activity number 2. Now I'm going back to the main page, and I'm going to click on activity number 3. Activity number 3 here, if you choose to do this activity, it is about blended learning. So she talks more about blended learning with station rotation. And this time, you're going to, after you watch the video, you're going to write a reflection using a Padlet. So here, you're going to search for an image and post what you think that closely represents the station rotation you have implemented or you would like to implement in your classroom. So in order for you to post, you see this pink button with a plus sign. You just click on that. When you hover, it turns into a pencil. You double click or just click, and you should be able to start adding your response in this Padlet. Okay? Then let's go take a look at the other folders that we have here. We also have here activity number 4, which focuses on understanding a flipped classroom. So if you choose this activity, again, they're going to watch a video. After watching the video, you can reflect by posting a response in Flipgrid. Then you have activity number 5, and it's activity number 5 contains also a video about whole group rotation, blended learning with Kathleen Tucker, as she dives deeper into that. And this particular activity, after you watch the video, you're going to submit an assignment. When you submit an assignment, you're being asked to create a single slide in PowerPoint and post your reflection again by sharing your takeaways, ahas, or new learnings, or if you have questions or wonderings or possible experiences in connection with this video. So that's activity number 5. And last but not the least, we have activity number 6. And activity number 6 focuses on how to build vocabulary in a blended learning classroom by Kathleen Tucker. So if you're going to choose this particular activity, play the video. And again, all the videos have an average of about 5 minutes. So it's nice, short, and quick. And here, your assignment or your activity for this activity would be to upload a media. So you're going to upload a media, meaning a picture. Okay, it could also be a video if you want, that shows again your reflection on the video. Okay, so I'm going to leave you here, and hopefully all of my instructions are clear and you can follow. And again, this is a recording, so you can always pause, rewind, play it back, and then play it again. Okay, so I hope you get to enjoy this session. It's going to be self-paced. It's going to be on your own. And again, you have all these different activities to explore. And like what I said, we have done the activity 1 together to help model what each folder or each activity would have. Okay, so that's pretty much it. And I hope that you get to enjoy this session, blended learning or blended hybrid learning through the lens of differentiation in Schoology. And thank you so much for stopping by and listening and watching and participating in this session. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.